There was a moment during a field exercise where I was running through a swamp at 3 a.m., completely soaked, holding a rifle after maybe 2 hours of sleep in 2 days. We were under attack. I fell over, and laying there, I remember thinking, I want to quit. I genuinely want to stop. And then I remembered there was nowhere to go. Around me was just the swamp, the dark, and whatever came next. First, there are different types of field exercises. Not all of them are equally brutal. Some are almost manageable. Shooting camps. You're out in the field, but the focus is on drills and marksmanship. You might get 5 hours of sleep. Small breaks exist. The food is bad, but consistent. These you can survive without losing your mind. Then there are the real ones, the full field exercises. 2 hours of sleep on a good night, moving through forests and swamps in complete darkness because you're not allowed to use roads, carrying heavy equipment, and the rule that nobody tells you about until you're already there. You have to do absolutely everything yourself. On base, things exist. Food appears. Shelter exists. You sleep in a bed. Hot water is a tap away. Out there, nothing appears. Nothing exists until you make it yourself. Where do you get wood? You figure it out. Where do you sleep? You find a spot and build something. What do you eat? Whatever you have. However, you can heat it. Every comfort you normally have, you have to build it yourself. And then pack it up and move it. And do it all again. And the order always comes at the worst possible time. But before any of that, you have to actually get there first. Packing was always chaos. We never had enough time in the mornings, so we were expected to pack during our free time the day before. People would be so stressed about what to bring, they'd pack well into the night. But unless it was a week-long trip, you would usually survive with the bare minimum that were already on the packing list. You didn't need 17 bags of candy like some people thought. Maybe a few cups of ramen, since you never knew when you'd be fed. The first exercise I arrived at, I remember the exact moment it hit me. It was evening. We were setting up in the middle of a forest. No facilities, nothing. Just trees, mud, and the gear on our backs. I stood there for a second looking at it and thought we have to make something livable out of this. The process alone took hours. If you were unlucky, you'd have to do scouting. While your buddies are waiting at the previous location, you get to go to the new one, scout the area for suitable locations, and then lay down guarding it for hours. Once you set up, and I use that term loosely, the daily reality begins. What would that be without the food though? Warm meals were edible, mostly. The temperature was never right though, as they were either boiling hot or had been sitting somewhere for hours, getting cold and growing bacteria. But they'd still give you the energy you need, even if they didn't taste good. The knee pads though, the field rations, were a different story. They were these ready meals that you'd get to carry on yourself, and they were genuinely inedible. Eating one could literally make you throw up. Like people said, not even a dog would eat this. The food was one thing, sleep was something else entirely. You don't sleep in field exercises, you just exist. On a normal night, you only get a few hours, and those hours aren't consecutive. You sleep in segments between guard duties, between tasks, between whatever the next thing is. The tent mattress doesn't help, since it's thinner than cardboard, and the pillow is just a jacket over your rifle. If you even managed to fit those in, which isn't a given. Picture trying to fit 18 grown men into a space that fits maybe 10. Everyone is wet, everything smells, and you're so cramped that sleeping on your side means pooning whoever is next to you. And the kamina, the tent guard, was also responsible for the heat, and nothing was worse than waking up in the middle of the night from either boiling alive or freezing to death, since the person responsible couldn't get the temperature right. When you were done with your shift, you wake up the next person and take their spot. But sometimes, if it was a corporal you were waking up, they may claim the spot and not permit you to sleep there. Thus, you choose a gap not wide enough for yourself and fall asleep in minutes. The weather during military exercise was horrible. It rains constantly. That gets into everything, no matter what. Your clothes get wet. They stay wet. The tent is wet. Your sleeping bag absorbs moisture. You try to dry things. Nothing dries. You just become a person who is wet. And the rust on your gun. My God, I still remember the first time my rifle was just fully orange from rust. I thought I was finally the person to ruin my rifle after 60 years in the service. But there were ways to dry things. There would be these hoops or wooden beams in the tent. Granted, you guys built them that were there to dry stuff up. But you were lucky if you got enough space for even 1 or 2 pieces of clothing, let alone your entire wardrobe. And since the fire was only on during the night, even the stuff you did dry was still moist in the morning. And the cold. I'm lucky I served mostly during the summer. The worst I experienced was a heat stroke that knocked me down for an evening during the summer heat waves. The coldest weather I experienced was in December, when it was still only a little bit below freezing. I've heard from friends that they've genuinely gotten frostbite, but none of that was actually the hardest part. The thing that genuinely broke people wasn't any one specific hardship. It was that there were no breaks. The moment you finish one thing, there's immediately another. There's no point in the day where someone says, okay, rest now. You eat while doing something. You move while exhausted. You do tasks at 3 a.m. It would be unremarkable at 3 p.m. except that it's 2 a.m. and you haven't properly slept in 2 days. I didn't understand what that actually meant until I was there. One of my worst experiences was still working at 4 a.m. I had been awake for 26 hours and had gotten no real breaks since then. A cadet randomly found me on the side of the road, still carrying equipment to its location. I was tasked with that, and it needed to be done. She just told me, go to sleep. My own corporal and the other people responsible for this duty had disappeared a long time ago, so I was just happy to finally be able to go and lay down. Too bad I was woken up an hour later for guard duty at the gate that was miles away. And the terrain. You're not walking on paths, you're moving through actual forest and swamp in the dark, following rules about road usage that made sense to someone in a planning room somewhere. In the woods, it was complete darkness where you genuinely cannot see what's directly in front of you. If you've never experienced this, I wouldn't blame you for not understanding how hard the darkness was. Try doing anything in an unknown location where it's so dark you can't even see your own feet. You'll genuinely be falling over and eating shit more times than you ever have before. The worst is when this happens in front of your superiors, and the light rules didn't help. White light was completely banned, and you'd get a hell of a yelling if you were caught using it. We were allowed to use red light, but even that was so bad you couldn't see anything further than your own foot. And that is, if you had a red light, you needed to be the one to buy it. And if the battery stopped, which it would on these long camps, you'd be on your own. That was maybe halfway through. The real dread hadn't even hit us yet. I have more military videos on the channel, and subscribe for part 2.